Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Inshallah, today we're reading from Surah Hujurat, verse number 1. The private quarters. This Medinan Surah, which takes its name from the reference to the Prophet's private quarters in verse 4, instructs the believers on the proper conduct towards the Prophet ﷺ and the social etiquette of dealing with other believers and the rest of humanity. At the end of the surah, the nomadic Arabs are taught that true faith is proven by action, not only words. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Manners with the Prophet. 1. Respect authority. O believers, do not proceed in any matter before a decree from Allah and His Messenger, and fear Allah. Surely Allah is all-hearing, all-knowing.
In any matter, because it's not mentioned in the Quran, the maf'ul bihi. It means it's it's a nice insertion by Dr. Mustafa Khattab.
Manners with the Prophet.
So that includes walking in front of the Prophet ﷺ, raising voices in any way, showing some sort of equalness or superiority.
Opinion?
Opinion?
Reading good or?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay. Manners with the Prophet. Watch your tongue. O believers, do not raise your voices above the voice of the Prophet, nor speak loudly to him as you do to one another, or your deeds will become void while you are unaware. Indeed, those who lower their voices in the presence of Allah's Messenger are the ones whose hearts Allah has refined for righteousness. They will have forgiveness and great reward. Okay, there's another interpretation. Not call him by his name as you call one another. So do not say, O Muhammad, rather than O Prophet.
ولا تجهر له بالقول. Many of the Salaf, including Imam Malik, applied this rule even after the Prophet ﷺ. They wouldn't raise their voices in the mosque of Medina because of his presence on the mosque.
Manners with the Prophet. Respect privacy. Indeed, most of those who call out to you, O Prophet, from outside your private quarters have no understanding of manners. Had they been patient until you could come out to them, it would have certainly been better for them. And Allah is all forgiving, most merciful. So the footnote is, a group from the tribe of Bani Tamim came to see the Prophet ﷺ while he was taking a nap in the afternoon. They stood outside the homes of his wives and started calling him out loud. I guess it's an act that even today would be disliked, just normal, even towards a normal person, let alone to the Prophet ﷺ, to just call him out by name, where the rest of the Sahaba were quiet in his presence and would wait for him to speak.
And just generally going to someone's home, you got to knock. If you knock 3 times, they don't respond, leave. Make sure you're not standing in a position that you're looking inside. Islam brought such nice adab and etiquettes, but when these Bedouins came, obviously they hadn't been exposed, but yeah, it shows their lack of perhaps being cultured in this sense.
O believers, so social etiquette, verifying news. O believers, if an evil doer brings you any news, verify it so you do not harm people unknowingly, becoming regretful for what you have done. And keep in mind that Allah's Messenger is still in your midst. If he were to yield to you in many matters, you would surely suffer the consequences. But Allah has indeed faith to you, making it appealing in your hearts. And He has made disbelief, rebelliousness, and disobedience detestable to you. Those are the ones rightly guided. This is a bounty and a blessing from Allah, and Allah is all-knowing, all-wise.
I'm sure Sheikh Mustafa Khattab, by the way, maybe we can mention to the brothers and sisters, we'll have Sheikh Mustafa Khattab himself joining tomorrow. So as we've read most of his translation, it'll be a great welcome. He's probably said that in the in the footnote, but one of the companions, Walid ibn Uqba, mentions it.
Yeah.
Was sent by the Prophet to collect alms tax from Bani Mustalif. They went out to receive Al-Walid, but he assumed they wanted to harm him. And because of that, he got back and he said they're not paying the zakat. Apparently, there was some, he had some issues there, tried from some history of having issues. But al-ibra bi umum al-alfaz la bi khusus al-sabab, if that's how it is. With the principles, the general wordings, not the specific occasion of revelation.
Bans everyone, I guess.
Bans everyone, yeah. This is the famous example where they say if someone comes بِنَبَإٍ فَتَبَيَّنُوا, and another recitation فَتَثَبَّتُوا. Make sure you've confirmed it. Tabayyanu means seek clarity. Tathabbatu means double check it. Look for another source saying the same thing.
Because with any news that comes to us, perhaps before we pass it on,
No.
I think this was a hadith, right? So like it's enough for a believer, for a sin that he passes everything that he hears.
No.
So I think it's important that
I think today as well we should say, we should apply that to forwarding passes on or retweeting or whatever, sharing. We should be careful.
social
people
media.
say I'm just forwarding, I'm not taking responsibility, but you're spreading it.
And the issue is, it's not just spreading to one person. Sometimes it's spread to thousands of people, and it's hard to take it back as well. Once it's out, that's it. So it's dangerous. Social etiquette, sense of brotherhood. And if two groups of believers fight each other, then make peace between them. But if one of them transgresses against the other, then fight against the transgressing group until they are willing to submit to the rule of Allah. If they do so, then make peace between both groups in all fairness and act justly. Surely Allah loves those who uphold justice. The believers are but one brotherhood, so make peace between your brothers and be mindful of Allah so you may be shown mercy.
Here the verse shows us that believers, unfortunately, as unfortunate as it is, but they can fall into a situation where they're fighting one another. So fighting of believers doesn't necessarily take them outside the fold of Islam. There is a hadith that says to curse your brother is fisq, but to fight him is kufr. But scholars have interpreted in other ways. Generally, sins don't take you out of the fold of Islam. But what I really like about this verse is that basically the side that's less willing to come towards a negotiation table for peace, they're sort of at fault. Let's see how Sheikh Nuh says it. And should two parties of believers fight with each other, make peace between them. Then if one transgresses against the other, fight the side that transgresses until they fall back in peace to the command of Allah. So if they subside, settle between them with complete equity and show utter justness. Verily Allah loves the utterly just. Sometimes it doesn't matter who's at fault. What matters is who's resisting to come to peace, to negotiate. As Bilal said he was going to join, he would have shared some of his sociological insights.
Yeah.
But you could really apply this to groups, perhaps even individual levels. Now, we'll wait for him to go.
Social etiquette, respect for all.
But sorry, فَأَصْلِحُ بَيْنَكُمْ بِالْعَدْلِ وَأَقْسِطُوا. Yes, peace and it's important, but it has to be with justice, and it's been repeated. وَأَقْسِطُوا. So you can't just say let's come to peace, and anything is willing to be compromised. Every right has been waived. People's rights have to be respected.
And verse 10 reminds us the asl, like the thing that, the default, which is that's brotherhood. So we need to keep those ties strong as believers, inshallah.
Apparently the word ikhwatun, it can also be said ikhwan. Muslims are brothers, ikhwan, as we know, ikhwan muslimin. But here not ikhwan is used, it's ikhwa. Ikhwa is used for full brothers, like same father, same mother. Like believers are very close.
Social etiquette, respect for all. O believers, do not let some men ridicule others, they may be better than them, nor let some women ridicule other women, they may be better than them. Do not defame one another, nor call each other by offensive nicknames. How evil it is to act rebelliously after having faith. And whoever does not repent, it is they who are the true wrongdoers. O believers, avoid many suspicions, for indeed some suspicions are sinful. And do not spy nor backbite one another. Would any of you like to eat the flesh of their dead brother? You would despise that, and fear Allah. Surely Allah is the acceptor of repentance, most merciful.
I've got here in my notes, and mind you, someone's notes are from a while back, that this verse was about not calling the wife of Qasim Safiya. She was called a Jew or someone else as a short person. We have to be very careful when we describe one another.
By names that the other people don't like.
Yaskhar is to mock and ridicule them. This is not really about ghiba, that's coming up, the ghiba verse. No. Let no people mock one another.
Social etiquette, number 4, equality. O humanity, indeed we created you from a male and a female and made you into peoples and tribes so that you may get to know one another. Surely the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous among you. Allah is truly all-knowing, all-aware.
So one, you start off, by not mocking one another. Then the next level is stop having bad opinions of one another, because that's the root cause. And then it literally says, Inna ba'da dhanni ithim. Opinion a lot of the times is sin, it says. And then if you do have those opinions, don't go to the next level, which is to do tajassus. Don't spy on one another. And then if you do that, don't spread gossip on one another. These are all real evils. And then it says you like to eat the flesh of your dead brother.
Yeah. And it reminds us we're all from Adam and Hawa, right? Like one father, one mother, verse 13. There was just a hadith from Ahmad ibn Hanbal radiallahu anhu. O humanity, your Lord is one and your ancestry is one. No Arab is superior to a non-Arab, nor is any Arab superior to any Arab. No white is superior to any black, nor is any black superior to any white, except on account of their righteousness, which is really, I think, would solve a lot of, again, it's one of those verses which I think could solve a lot of problems in the world. Actions speak louder than words. Some of the nomadic Arabs say, we believe. Say, O Prophet, you have not believed, but say, we have submitted, for faith has not yet entered your hearts. But if you obey Allah and His Messenger wholeheartedly, He will not discount anything from the reward of your deeds. Allah is truly all forgiving, most merciful. The true believers are only those who believe in Allah and His Messenger, never doubting, and strive with their wealth and their lives in the cause of Allah. They are the ones true in faith. Say, do you inform Allah of your faith when Allah already knows whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth, and Allah has perfect knowledge of all things. They regard their acceptance of Islam as a favor to you. Tell them, O Prophet, do not regard your Islam as a favor to me. Rather, it is Allah who has done you a favor by guiding you to the faith, if indeed you are faithful. Surely Allah knows the unseen of the heavens and the earth, and Allah is all-seeing of what you do.
Verse 16, قُلَ تُعَلِّمُونَ اللَّهَ بِدِينِكُمْ. Sheikh Nu says that, say, are you teaching Allah how religious you are, when Allah knows all in the heavens and the earth? الْمِنَّةُ لِلَّهِ وَلِرَسُولِهِ. All, any feeling of indebtedness only belongs to Allah and His Messenger. They were trying to make the Prophet feel indebted. They've converted. There's a lot can be said about this surah, but we're interested in finishing the Jews, so I guess we won't think on it too much. Did you want to say something, Ustaz Ahmed?
Just quickly, the Ansar after the Prophet ﷺ, after Mecca, how he was handing out the spoils of war to all these leaders trying to win their hearts and didn't give much to Ansar, if anything. And they started saying, the blood is still fresh on our swords, yet like they didn't get any booty from, after the conquest of Mecca. And the Prophet gathers them all in one place and gives them a talk, says, mentions the favors that they did to the Prophet and then says that, but you could have said that, Anyways, but at the end, they're all crying and weeping and saying, Al-minnatu lillahi wa rasulihi. The indebtedness is to Allah and His Messenger for bringing them together, guiding them, and so forth. So just reminded me of that.
No, that's true. They say that over there. Al-minnatu lillahi. Verse 14, it's a reminder. Often people distinguish between Iman and Mu'min and Islam and Muslim. Mu'min is usually seen as a high level, and this verse is given as evidence for that. Because they say we believe. The desert says you do not believe, but rather say we have submitted, for faith has not yet entered your hearts. Although this is saying about these nomadic Arabs, us, when we read the Quran, we go to say this, okay, yes, we have a Muslim name or a Muslim identity, or we're trying to submit, but our thoughts, our subconscious, has Iman entered? Then how do you know if your Iman has entered your thoughts and subconscious? Well, your heart then beats for whatever and pleasure to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it gets enraged with whatever displeases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you don't have that fully, then all these verses that talk about disbelief, kibir, and then they apply to all of us.
Alhamdulillah. Surah Qaf. Since the previous surah primarily addresses the believers, this surah mainly talks about the disbelievers, particularly the deniers of resurrection. References are made to earlier destroyed deniers and Allah's infinite power to prove His ability to create and resurrect. The deniers of the resurrection are told what to expect after death and judgment. The Prophet ﷺ is urged to be steadfast. The certainty of the hereafter is emphasized both at the end of this surah and the beginning of the next. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qaf, by the glorious Quran, all will be resurrected, yet the deniers are astonished that a one has come to them from among themselves, warning of resurrection. So the disbelievers say, this is an astonishing thing. We will be returned to life when we are dead and reduced to dust. Such a return is impossible. We certainly know what the earth consumes of them after their death, and with us is a well-preserved record. In fact, they reject the truth when it has come to them, so they are in a confused state.
Now, obviously, something that doesn't come across in the translation is if it's permissible to say that the rhythm of the verse, or they say ru'usul ayat. This verse all ends with, this surah always ends with letters from huruful, the qalqala letters. So Bahij, Furuj, Marij, Nadid, Khuruj, Thamud, Lut, Jadid. Every surah has its own unique taste in that. Qaf, there's different beliefs about what that Qaf is. Some talk about this mystical mountain. But to keep it within the realm of tafsir, a friend of mine, colleague, Dr. Rajab Dogan, once said, there's two surahs in the Quran that begins with the letter Qaf. I think it's this one and Surah Shura. And he said, in each of those two surahs, the number of times the letter Qaf appears is 57 in each one. So if you add up to the two surahs, 57 times 2 is 114. So that goes to the 114 surahs of the Quran. Hence, Qaf alludes to the Quran. And immediately after it says Qaf, it says, well, Quran al-Majid. And also the surah ends with talking about the Quran. I actually didn't believe him.
You counted them?
I counted them. I mean, I believed them, but I wanted it to know it for certainty. And I got the same number. So, yeah.
Allah's power to create. Have they not then looked at the sky above them, how we built it and adorned it with stars, leaving it flawless? As for the earth, we spread it out and placed upon it firm mountains and produced in it every type of pleasant plant, all as an insight and a reminder to every servant who turns to Allah. And we sent down blessed rain from the sky, bringing forth gardens and grains for harvest, and towering palm trees loaded with clustered fruit as a provision for our servants. And with this rain we revive a lifeless land. Similar is the emergence from the graves.
All these signs, usually when Allah mentions the signs, it says, who's it a sign for? لِكُلِّ عَبْدٍ مُنِيبٍ or لِقَوْمِ يُؤْمِنُونَ or يُوقِنُونَ. The perspective a servant comes with is very important. People can easily see these signs and say, oh yeah, we're the third rock from the sun due to gravity. They'll start listing the causes and they will forget seeing the whole sign behind the causes.
Why? The why question, right?
The why question and the fact that it's been also perfectly come about like this causes at the end of the day are blind, you know.
But a disbeliever looks at this phenomena and wow, like the what of it, you know, this, as you said, all those things. But
gravity affects all things with mass, but throw a bucket of paint and things into the space and see if it brings you a beautiful painting.
Yeah. Denies before Arab pagans. Before them, the people of Noah denied the truth, as did the people of the water pit, Thamud, Ad, Pharaoh, the kinfolk of Lot, the residents of the forest, and the people of Tubba. Each rejected their messenger, so my warning was fulfilled. Allah's power to resurrect and know all. Were we incapable of creating them the first time? In fact, they are in doubt about their recreation. Indeed, it is we who created humankind and fully know what their souls whisper to them, and we are closer to them than their jugular vein. As the two recording angels, one sitting to the right and the other to the left, note everything, not a word does a person utter without having a vigilant observer ready to write it down. The left and the right. Yep, sorry, keep going.
15. You know, so were we barked, B-A-L-K-E-D, by the first creation? Were we tired from the first creation? Obviously not. It goes without saying, we have no concept that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the earth and the heavens, and he needed a day to rest. وَلَا يَؤُودُهُ حِفْظُهُمَا, and many verses like this.
Bad news for the deniers. Ultimately, with the throes of death will come the truth. This is what you were trying to escape. And the trumpet will be blown. This is the day you were warned of. Each soul will come forth with an angel to drive it and another to testify. It will be said to the denier, you were totally heedless of this. Now we have lifted this veil of yours, so today your sight is sharp. And one accompanying angel will say, here is the record ready with me. It will be said to both angels, throw into hell every stubborn disbeliever, withholder of good, transgressor, and doubter who set up another god with Allah. So cast them into the severe punishment.
The qareen, it's here I've got for the word qareen, it was used a few times. His inseparable, ominous companion, shall say. Your Dr. Khattab's translation says the angel companion. Yeah.
The misleaders and the misled. One's devilish associate will say, our Lord, I did not make them transgress, rather they were far astray on their own. Allah will respond, do not dispute in my presence, since I had already given you a warning. My word cannot be changed, nor am I unjust to my creation. Beware of the day we will ask hell, are you full yet? And it will respond, are there any more?
See, this one it says devilish associate, but it's the same word, qareen.
Okay. A scholar actually turns this around, are you full yet? Like, I guess this is the hellfire's ambition to take on these, evil people for all the things, wrongs that they committed. But we should be ambitious to do good things. Like when we finish a good deed, is there more? Like, are there any more? What can I do next? What can I do more for my Lord? So, which is the concept altogether.
Yeah, the way we see Jahannam, it's a living entity. It breathes. The Quran says, it has fury. It gets enraged, and it wants to punish more and more. It's quite scary, actually.
Good news for the righteous, and paradise will be brought near to the righteous, not far off. And it will be said to them, this is what you were promised, for whoever constantly turned to Allah and kept up His commandments, who were in awe of the most compassionate without seeing Him, and have come with a heart turning only to Him. Enter it in peace. This is the day of eternal life. There they will have whatever they desire, and with us is even more.
There's a verse in Surah Yunus that whoever لِلَّذِينَ أَحْسَنُوا الْحُسْنَى وَزِيَادَةً, those who do good, they will have the husna, reward, and ziyada. And scholars say the ziyada refers to the vision of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I think this verse could be similar, because it says they have what they desire, and with us there's extra mazid.
Verse 30 finishes, are there any more? The Jahannam says. And then verse 34 also finishes with mazid, like even more. Inshallah.
Very different.
Very different. Yeah. Waladayna mazid. Warning to Meccan pagans, imagine how many peoples were destroyed before them who were far mightier than them. Then when the torment came, they desperately sought refuge in the land. But was there any escape? Surely in this is a reminder for whoever has a mindful heart and lends an attentive ear.
Yeah, so what? لمن كان له قلب, and then he gives an ear. That's what literally translates to cast an ear, like giving an ear to something. And the third one, and he's present. See, it's the state of the reader of the Quran is very highly emphasized. To see God's signs, your state is very important. This is a reminder, but you need to have three things. You need to have a heart, you need to give an attentive ear, and you have to be present.
It's nice. Did Allah get tired? Indeed, we created the heavens and the earth and everything in between in 6 days, and we were not even touched with fatigue. So be patient, O Prophet, with what they say, and glorify the praise of your Lord before sunrise and before sunset, and glorify Him during part of the night and after the prayers. And listen, on the day the caller will call out from a near place, the day all will hear the mighty blast in all truth. That will be the day of emergence from the graves. It is certainly we who give life and cause death, and to us is the final return. Beware of the day the earth will split open, letting them rush forth. There will be an easy gathering for us. We know best what they say, and you, O Prophet, are not there to compel them to believe. So remind with the Quran only those who fear my warning.
Here it says, your one says only. Here it says, so remind with the Quran whoever may fear my threat.
Yeah. It's interesting he's put the only in, huh?
Yeah. Basically, maybe he means only those who fear the threat, Allah's threat, are the ones who benefit. ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين. It's two things. It's a miraculous Quran, but it's a taqwa, attentive, fearful, someone seeking hidayah. No, I guess that's the difference between what's happening today and the past. The Quran is with us, and the Quran was with them, but the state of the listener has changed. No. Are you tired from reading?
No, I can continue. Inshallah, no problem. Scattering winds, Azariyat. Dhariyat. Like the previous surah, this Meccan surah makes the case for the resurrection, citing some of Allah's natural signs in the universe to prove His ability to bring the dead back alive. Several examples are given to the deniers of judgment who were destroyed, which contrasts with the reward of the believers. The Prophet ﷺ is urged to carry on reminding. Both the end of this surah and the beginning of the next pose a warning of the day of judgment. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Judgment is inevitable. By the wind scattering dust and clouds loaded with rain and the ships gliding with ease and the angels administering affairs by Allah's command. Indeed, what you are promised is true and the judgment will certainly come to pass. And by the heavens in their marvelous design, surely you are lost in conflicting views regarding the truth. Only those destined to be deluded are turned away from it. Condemned are the liars, those who are steeped in ignorance, totally heedless. They ask mockingly, when is this day of judgment? It is the day they will be tormented over fire. They will be told, taste your torment. This is what you sought to hasten. The dua, Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqan warzuqna ittiba'a wa arina al-batila batilan warzuqna ijtinaba. Oh Allah, show us the truth as truth and show us falsehood as falsehood. The truth allows us to follow it, and with the falsehood, to stay away from it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Quran, the hereafter, especially the unseen. For us, it's the most certain truth. But yet, it's also very easy to be heedless and ignorant about too at the same time, even as believers. So that's perhaps a dua that we could keep, inshallah. Good news for the devout. Indeed, the righteous will be amid gardens and springs, joyfully receiving what their Lord will grant them. Before this reward, they were truly good doers in the world. They used to, and in their wealth there was a rightful share fulfilled for the beggar and the poor.
I think seeking forgiveness in the Sahar time before Fajr, it's the second time, if I'm not mistaken. وَالْمُسْتَغْفِرِينَ بِالْأَسْحَارِ. It's being used. Lack of sleep, what did they say? قِلَّةُ الطَّعَامِ قِلَّةُ الشَّرَابِ قِلَّةُ الْمَنَامِ قِلَّةُ mixing and talking people. Less sleep, less food, less water. These are the ingredients for apparently a spiritual life.
Allah's signs in creation. There are countless signs on earth for those with sure faith, as there are within yourselves. Can you not see? In heaven is your sustenance, and whatever you are promised, then by the Lord of heaven and earth, all this is certainly as true as the fact that you can speak.
I really like that. It just says, everything you want, your rizq is in the heaven. فَوَرَبِّ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ إِنَّهُ لَحَقٌّ. And it draws the attention to what's important for the human, and then it's a little based, I swear, on that thing that's important for you. This is the truth. The Quran seems to constantly mention the afaqi signs first, then the anfusi. Just an observation. The macro signs in the earth and in the heavens first, and then وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ. Verse 21.
Has the story of Abraham's honored guests reached you, O Prophet? Remember when they entered his presence and greeted him with peace. He replied, peace be upon you. Then he said to himself, these are an unfamiliar people. Then he slipped off to his family and brought a fat roasted calf and placed it before them, asking, will you not eat? They did not eat, so he grew fearful of them. They reassured him, do not be afraid, and gave him good news of a knowledgeable son. Then his wife came forward with a cry, clasping her forehead in astonishment, exclaiming, a baby from a barren old woman? They replied, such has your Lord decreed. He's truly all-wise, all-knowing.
I've got to quickly make this Arabic point. In verse 25, the angels come and they say, Salama. Ibrahim alayhi salam responds, Salamun. One is mansub, one is marfu. We have some brothers here who study Arabic. Salama is mansub, and it's like usallimu alayka salama, and it's jumla. It points to a jumla fi'liya, a sentence that starts with a verb. Salamun is marfu. It's more like mubtada, and it points to a jumla ismiya. Jumla ismiya is known to be much stronger, more certain than jumla fi'liya, because it's happened. You're not talking about something that's changing. You're talking about something thabit. So the angels start with jumla fi'liya. The Quran says when you're greeted with a greeting, always give a better greeting or the same. Ibrahim a.s. gives a better greeting back. I read this somewhere and I liked it. Just from the same word, you can pick up the subtle differences. Here it says a fat cow, and in the other one it's bi'ajlin hanith, I think. And one scholar said that Ibrahim was such a hospitable person, he brought the best quality and the best quantity to his guests. But they didn't eat. The angels. It looks like he didn't realize at the very beginning. Even Lut didn't realize until they say, "Don't worry, Ya Lut, we're angels." And sometimes the prophets, they realize everything, but sometimes I guess if they come in the form of a man, they don't.
Destruction of the people of Lot. Later, Abraham asked, "What is your mission, O messengers?" They replied, "We have actually been sent to a wicked people to send upon them stones of baked clay marked by your Lord for the transgressors. Then before the torment, we evacuated the believers from the city, but we only found one family that had submitted to Allah. And we have left a sign there as a lesson for those who fear the painful punishment." Lot and his two daughters. And we found only one family that had submitted to Allah.
Wait.
Verse 36, the footnote says it was Lot and his two daughters.
That was Lot's bait, his house.
Spent years and years and years conveying the message, and even your wife doesn't believe. People around you don't believe. SubhanAllah.
But just when I was mentioning that perhaps Ibrahim didn't realize he was angels, then the next verse, beginning of the page 31, sorry. قال فما خطبكم أيها المرسلون. His prophethood and fatana comes out here. He knows that they're not going to just come to give him glad tidings. He knows there's more to the story, and that's what he's asking for.
Destruction of Pharaoh's people. And in the story of Moses was another lesson when we sent him to Pharaoh with compelling proof. But Pharaoh was carried away by his power, saying, "O Moses, a magician or a madman." So we seized him and his soldiers, casting them into the sea while he was blameworthy.
How did you translate 39? But he turned away Pharaoh?
But Pharaoh was carried away by his power, saying of Moses, a magician or madman.
Here it says, but he turned haughtily away with his host. فَتَوَلَّ بِرُكْنِهِ. So.
Yeah, I think he says with compelling proof. So, yeah.
What sorry, compelling proof?
By his power, saying, yeah, no, we're referring to verse 39. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. So the thing, if it's his power, because rukun is the thing you lean on, right? Or if it's host, it's perhaps a different connotation of that word. And again, we cast them into the yem, that word that gets used always when the Egyptian stories talk about.
And in the story of Ad was another lesson when we sent against them the devastating wind. There was nothing it came upon that it did not reduce to ashes. And in the story of Thamud was another lesson when they were told, "Enjoy yourselves only for a short while." Still they persisted in defying the commands of their Lord, So they were overtaken by a mighty blast while they were looking on. Then they were not able to rise, nor were they helped. And the people of Noah had also been destroyed earlier. They were truly a rebellious people. Do we know if these are in chronological order, Ustaz Saduk? The
No, it
stories?
says and
Yeah.
no before.
Yeah.
Before it says
Mm.
min qablu.
Mm.
Sometimes it doesn't
Yeah,
speak
yeah.
in chronology, but other
Yeah.
places it does give a chronology.
Usually the chronological order.
Yeah, like I think in Surah Hud it starts with Nuh alayhi salam and it goes according to the chronology.
Mm.
But here obviously it's not.
Yeah. Allah's power of creation. We built the universe with great might and we are certainly expanding it. As for the earth, we spread it out. How superbly did we smooth it out. And we created pairs of all things, so perhaps you would be mindful.
So وَالسَّمَاءَ بَنَيْنَاهَا Shaykh Nuh has it, and the sky we have built with all powerful force, and we are indeed expanding it out. It just has to also be pointed here that they don't say be aiding. Okay, so he's translated with aidim with all powerful force. How is your one being translated? Sorry?
Yeah, just,
47.
we built the universe with great might and we are certainly expanding it.
Aidin can also mean hands. Anyway, maybe not. Does it say anything? No. This is the verse that people point out that say that the Quran refers to the Big Bang. Well, there's two aspects to the Big Bang. One, that it all came from one small piece. That's another surah. From a single piece, and then it was cleft asunder. And then the other verse that says we are expanding it is coming from this verse. Allahu Alam. It does seem to match today's modern scientific understanding with the Quran, and it could be one of the Quran's miracles. But we don't say that this verse absolutely, definitively refers to the Big Bang. Because sometimes science changes and we don't want to be in a position where...
So proclaim, O Prophet, flee to Allah. I am truly sent by Him with a clear warning to you. And do not set up another God with Allah. I am truly sent by Him with a clear warning to you.
Flee to Allah doesn't say flee from what? فَفِرُّوا إِلَى اللَّهِ. And hence it means flee from everything.
Similarly, no messenger came to those before them without being told, a magician or a madman. Have they passed this cliche down to one another? In fact, they have all been a transgressing people. So now turn away from them, O Prophet, for you will not be blamed. But continue to remind, for certainly reminders benefit the believers. I did not create the jinn and humans except to worship me. I seek no provision from them, nor do I need them to feed me. Indeed, Allah alone is the supreme provider, Lord of all power, ever mighty.
Sometimes I have this Turkish translation in front of me, the famous verse 56. I didn't create the jinn and man but to worship me. He's captured both meanings. Beni tanıyıp yalnız bana ibadet. So Ibn Abbas says that it means for them لِيَعْرِفُونِي لِيَعْبُدُونَ, as in for them to know me. Here the English translation just emphasizes the worship, but the Turkish one captures both of them. And straight after that, Allah mentioned the rizq. I don't want rizq from you. Or do I need to be fed? Allah's a Razzaq. Why? Because one of the common excuse people come when they say religion, worship. Oh, brother, I have work. I'm too busy. I have to make money. Allah's saying He's not asking you to make money from Him. Your rizq is already guaranteed. He's the one giving you rizq. And He's saying, I've created you to worship Him.
There's also a common saying, work is also worship. Which is, if you do your fara'id, the compulsory action, it can, with a good intention, it can become worship. But if you're neglecting your compulsory duties, and then you're saying work is also worship, then there's a bit of a conflict there as well. So,
Yeah, that's true.
The wrongdoers will certainly have a share of the torment like that of their predecessors. So do not let them ask me to hasten it. Woe then to the disbelievers when they face their day which they are warned of. Mantur.
Do you want me to read this?
If you wish, yeah.
Right. This Meccan surah takes its name from verse 1, where Allah swears by Mount Tur, among other things, that the day of judgment is inevitable. The punishment of those skeptical of judgment is described, followed by a detailed description of the reward of the believers, along with their offspring. Atheism is also rejected. The Prophet ﷺ is reassured of Allah's support, while the pagan beliefs and arguments are refuted both in this surah and the next. In the name of Allah, most compassionate, most merciful, by Mount Tur, and by the book written on open pages for all to read, and by the sacred house frequently visited, Bayt al-Ma'mur. If the Kaaba was an elevator, the level that you get out to, the final level, is Bayt al-Ma'mur. One scholar had, that's how he put it.
We know the angels also frequent.
The angels do tawaf there, yeah. But it's on top of the Kaaba. But it's like, that's the real thing in the Kaaba, is its shadow on earth. And by the canopy raised high, and by the seas set on fire, indeed the punishment of your Lord will come to pass. None will avert it. On the day the heavens will be shaken violently, and the mountains will be blown away entirely.
Yep.
Then woe on the day to the deniers, those who amuse themselves with falsehood. It is the day they will be fiercely shoved into the fire of hell. يُدَعُّونَ إِلَى نَارِ جَهَنَّمَ دَعًّا. It's very, it's almost difficult saying it. There's a lot of force required. No, sorry. It is the day they will be fiercely shoved into the fire of hell. They will be told, this is the fire which you used to deny. Is this magic, or do you not see? Burn in it. It is the same whether you endure it patiently or not. You are only rewarded for what you used to do. Sabr, tawakkul, dua, salat in the hereafter doesn't mean much. Sometimes it is an extra. Okay. Pleasures awaiting the faithful. Indeed, the righteous will be in gardens and bliss, enjoying whatever their Lord will have granted them, and their Lord will have protected them from the torment of the hellfire. They will be told, eat and drink happily for what you used to do. They will be reclining on thrones, neatly lined up facing each other, and we will pair them to maidens with gorgeous eyes. As for those who believe and whose descendants follow them in faith, we will elevate their descendants to their rank, never discounting anything of the reward of their deeds. Each person will reap only what they have sowed. And we will continually provide them with whatever fruit or meat they desire. They will pass around to each other a drink of pure wine, which leads to no idle talk or sinfulness. And they'll be weighted on by their youthful servants like spotless pearls. 24. Yeah, whenever the Quran mentions this wine in Jannah, it always says it doesn't cause intoxication, it doesn't lead to sinfulness, idle talk. The things that it does today, it doesn't have it there. But it's still wine. There's something nice about it, that it's not inherently. There are things that are inherently ugly, or there are things that are ugly because of the causes, effects that come out of it. It looks like wine is something that is not in and of itself ugly, but more because of the results of it. Hence, in one place, it's even counted in the Quran as one of God's ni'mas, blessings, in Surah Nahl. Now, remembering past lives in paradise. Ustaz Ahmed, I'm reading, but I'm still talking.
Please continue, inshallah.
They will turn to one another inquisitively. They will say, before this reward, we used to be in the awe of Allah in the midst of our people. So Allah has graced us and protected us from the torment of Allah, of the hell's scorching heat. Indeed, we used to call upon Him alone before. He is truly the most kind, most merciful. The translation, before this reward, we used to be in awe of Allah in the midst of our people. It doesn't fully capture what I think. To say awe of Allah there, I mean, to be in awe of Allah is a good thing. But the Arabic says, قَالُوا إِنَّا كُنَّا قَبْلُ فِي أَهْلِنَا مُشْفِقِينَ. We were in terror. We were so scared and terrified of what's going to be the final ending of our family and ourselves. How does your one translate it?
We were anxious.
Anxious, yeah. Anxious, scared, put together. But to say we used to be in the awe of Allah in the midst of our people doesn't, I guess, capture that. Because it's something you always want to be. But you won't be in a state of being anxious in the hereafter. لا يجمع بين الخوفين وبين الأمنين. Will not combine between two fears and two safety things. Ustaz Ahmed sometimes follows the study of Quran. Maybe I should have mentioned it, but
yeah, we've referenced it a few times.
Yeah. So Allah has graced us and protected us from the torment of hell's scorching heat. Indeed, we used to call upon Him alone. He is truly the most kind, most merciful. What are the names of Allah used here? Huwa al-Barru rahim, most kind. It's not the normal Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim.
Yeah.
Barru Rahim.
You don't get that much in the Quran, right? It's not this name.
I think it might be the only place. I mean, it says to treat your parents with bir, and it talks about what bir is, but yeah. Allah has the name Al-Bari as well, the creator, but that's, I think, slightly different. Why do the Meccans deny the truth? So continue to remind all, O Prophet, for you, by the grace of your Lord, are not a fortune teller or a madman. Or do they say he's a poet for whom we eagerly await an ill fate? Say, keep waiting, I too am waiting with you. Or do their intelligent minds prompt them to do this paradox? Or are they just a transgressing people? Okay. أم يقولون تقوله. أم تأمرهم أحلامهم بهذا. Oh no, sorry. Or do their better minds bid them to say thus? Or rather are they people who transgress all bounds? Or do they say he made this Quran up? In fact, they have no faith. Let them then produce something like it if what they say is true. Or were they created by nothing, or are they their own creators? Or did they create the heavens and the earth? In fact, they have no firm belief in Allah. Or do they possess the treasuries of your Lord? Or are they in control of everything? Or do they have a stairway by which they eavesdrop on the heavens? Then let those who do so bring a compelling proof. Or does he have daughters, as you claim, while you prefer to have sons? Or are you, O Prophet, asking them for a reward for the message so that they are overburdened by that? Or do they have access to the record, the unseen, so that they copy it for all to see? Or do they intend to scheme against the Prophet? Then it is the disbelievers who will fall victim to their schemes. Or do they have a God other than Allah? Glorified is Allah, far above what they associate with Him. It really builds up. Or do they have this? Do they have this? It just, in a mocking way, raises all their doubts. And then in the climax, أَمْ لَهُمْ إِلَهٌ غَيْرُ اللَّهِ Subhanallah amma yushrikun. If you to hear the Arabic, you're like, I just want to memorize this passage. Or do they? Now, reassuring the Prophet. If they were to see a deadly piece of the sky fall down upon them, still they would say this is just a pile of clouds. So leave them until they face their Lord, in which they will be struck dead. The day their scheming will be of no benefit to them whatsoever, nor will they be helped. Also the wrongdoers will certainly have another torment before that day, but most of them do not know. It's perhaps referring to punishment in this world. عذابا دون ذلك ولكن أكثرهم لا يعلمون. Either punishment in this world or in the grave. Does he say something? 1116. Are we short in time, says Ahmed?
Famine, droughts, or defeat of the Battle of Badr
Okay.
in 15-0. We're all short in time, as you know.
So be patient with your Lord's decree, for you are truly under our watchful eyes, and glorify the praises of your Lord when you rise, and glorify him during part of the night and at the fading of the stars. I once asked Sheikh Yahya Rodus, Hafizahullah, which verse of the Quran do you think Allah has praised the Prophet the most? And he quoted this verse, فَإِنَّكَ بِأَعْيُنِنَا. You literally says, you are in my eyes. But look at let's see how Sheikh Noor translates this. For verily you are under our watchful protecting eyes. وَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ حِينَ تَقُومُ وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَسَبِّحْهُ وَإِدْبَارَ النُّجُومِ. And when the stars set, and that just as it mentions stars setting, the next surah begins with وَالنَّجْمِ إِذَا هَوَى. When the star goes down. By the star was when they set.
I just want to make a side note, like the scheming it talks about. That's what the leaders of the Quraysh did. They came together on a regular basis to scheme against the Prophet ﷺ, to scheme against the Muslims. How should we stop his message? So like there is a serious scheming happening. And the Quran is addressing this. I think, yeah.
Just like there's people today, high technologies or whoever they are, that want to prevent people from having faith, and they're using the ultimate whatever resource they have. The same people exist at the time of the Prophet. The principle is the same. And by us learning how a person dealt with how the Quran is telling us to deal with it, we can also apply it today. But we have to be at that level. Now, the stars and Najm. This Meccan surah takes its name from the reference to the fading of the stars in the first verse, as well as the last verse of the previous surah. He connected it as well, he always does. The divine source of the Prophet's message is emphasized, followed by reference to his ascension to heaven during the night journey. See introduction to Surah Isra. The pagans are condemned for associating idols with Allah in worship and for claiming that the angels are Allah's daughters. Manifestations of Allah's infinite power are cited to prove his ability to resurrect. Both the end of this surah and the beginning of the next stress the imminence of the hour. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful.
So I think like towards the end of the Quran, we start delving into the Meccan surahs, right? Yeah. So I think most of the surahs we'll be reading from the Meccan period.
Yeah.
And hence, I mean, there's already a strong emphasis on obviously Iman matters in the Quran, but what perhaps we'll find is even more emphasizing on these concepts, where in Mecca, the believers, their ultimate goal was to preserve their Iman, to go through all these persecutions and hardship. So the hereafter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the hour are frequently mentioned.
In Professor Swat Yildirim, in his introduction to the surah says, it's narrated it was revealed in the 5th year of the Hijrah.
Allah. Oh, this one. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah. Allah, sometimes all this information, sometimes the accuracy can be questioned.
Yeah. It says this Meccan surah, but
It doesn't say, yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes they say early Meccan, late Meccan. Yeah. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, most merciful, the Prophet's encounter with Gabriel. Just as a reminder to brothers, the headings, the translation, everything is already automatically showing a tafsir. A tafsir is being selected from the many tafsirs, as we will see. So the fact that it says the encounter with Gabriel is a tafsir. It is the most popular tafsir, but there are other Sufi tafsirs that say the encounter with someone else. By the stars when they fade away, your fellow man is neither misguided nor astray. Here it's got your companion is not lost. Fellow man sounds a bit funny.
Yes, same here as well.
Companion, yeah. Nor does he speak of his own whims. It is only a revelation sent down to him. He has been taught by one angel of mighty power and great perfection, who once rose to his true form, while on the highest point above the horizon. Then he approached the Prophet, coming so close that he was only 2 arms length away or even less. Qaba Qawsain. But we know usually Qaba Qawsain refers to our Prophet getting so close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Miraj. But here we see tafsirs and all these footnotes that we might not probably get a chance to go. Then Allah revealed to his servant what he revealed. فَأَوْحَى إِلَىٰ عَبْدِهِ مَا أَوْحَى. The highest rank, ubudiyah. And it's just so beautiful because we don't exactly know what Allah revealed. The hadith that we have about their Miraj is probably 10%, 5%. And then just whatever he revealed. The Prophet's heart did not doubt what he saw. How can you, O pagans, then dispute with him regarding what he saw? And he certainly saw that angel descend a second time at the lote tree of the most extreme limit, Sidrat al-Muntaha, near which is the garden of eternal residence. While the lote tree was overwhelmed with heavenly splendors, the Prophet's sight never wandered, nor did it overreach. He certainly saw some of his Lord's greatest signs. It's because of perhaps this vague nature of these verses. That's why scholars have said if you deny Isra, you become a kafir. But if you deny Miraj, we have other books, words in the dictionary, thesaurus to describe you. Dal, mudil, misguided, astray. But we don't use the word kafir.
Because Isra is clearly mentioned in the Quran.
So explicitly, yeah. So he says he saw Jibreel, but there are some tafsirs that say he saw Allah. And then there's that whole debate between the companions. And it's just a reminder, sometimes the companions had a serious difference on these matters. Sayyidina Aisha said he could not have seen Allah. But at the end, Qadi Iyad in his Shifa says he did. Wake up call to pagans. Now have you considered the idols of Allah and Uzza, and the third one Manat as well? Do you prefer to have sons while you attribute to him daughters? It's narrated that when these names were mentioned, anyway, we won't go into the Quraysh apparently did a sajda out of the miraculousness of these verses. News of this sajda reached the Muslims in Abyssinia, and they came back, but it was a false warning. They thought the whole of Quraysh became Muslim, and some of those companions came back and they received more torture. Then this is truly a biased distribution. Qismatun dhiza. I remember my Arabic teacher saying even the word dhiza, it shows the inequality of the distribution, because it's not 50-50, it's dhiza. Sorry, just one second. Allah preserved him. I learned a lot from the teacher. I think Ustaz Mahmoud was his name. These idols are mere names that you and your forefathers have made up, a practice Allah has never authorized. They follow nothing but inherited assumptions and whatever their souls desire, although true guidance has already come to them from their Lord. Or should every person simply have whatever intercessors they desire? In fact, to Allah alone belongs this world and the next. Imagine how many noble angels are in the heavens. Even their intercession would be of no benefit whatsoever until Allah gives permission to whoever He wills, and only for the people He approves. Are angels Allah's daughters? Indeed, those who do not believe in the hereafter label angels as female. Although they have no knowledge in support of this, they follow nothing but inherited assumptions, and surely assumptions can in no way replace the truth. So dhann, before we talked from an akhlaq perspective, is very dangerous. Here from an aqidah perspective is very dangerous. Although I must admit, once I had a conversation years ago with our current mufti, Dr. Ibrahim Muhammad, Hafizahullah. He said, they say, inna ba'da dhanni itham. And then he said, yani inna ba'dahu haqqun. So it means some of it is true.
Yeah.
At that moment, he was talking about one of his assumptions. I forgot about who. And he was saying it's true. I always remember him saying that. And surely assumptions can in no way replace the truth. So turn away, O Prophet, from whoever has shunned our reminder, only seeking the fleeting life of this world. This is the extent of their knowledge. This is a dua, if I'm not mistaken, a prophetic dua. What verse is it?
30. Sure, best verse straight from his vein.
No, 30. Sorry. ذلك مبلغهم من العلم. اللهم لا تجعل الدنيا أكبر همنا ولا مبلغ علمنا. Don't make this world our biggest concern, neither don't make it our extremes of our knowledge. Let our knowledge be on more useful, permanent things beyond just this world. This is the extent of their knowledge. Surely your Lord knows best who has strayed from his way and who is rightly guided. Allah knows who is righteous. To Allah alone belongs whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth, so that He may reward the evildoers according to what they did, and reward the good doers with the finest reward. I think Ustaz Bilal had tried joining.
Here it comes.
Okay, anyway.
We should have him maybe on the last day, just give him 10 minutes to recite the Sadaq.
He had tried joining before, I think, but he had to leave, he said.
No.
To Allah alone belongs whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth, so that He may reward the evildoers according to what they did, and reward the good doers with the finest reward. Yeah. The evildoers according to what their actions, but those who do ahsanu, reward them with husna, with beauty.
Coming back to the concept that we mentioned a few times.
One is reward them according to the best of their deeds, but it's also hal jazaa wal ihsani illa al ihsan. So the people that have done ahsanu, Allah rewards them with husna. We've already read Surah Rahman, right? No, it's coming up. Yeah, sure. Maybe tomorrow, yes. And then a very hopeful verse. Where is it? Those who avoid major sins and shameful deeds, despite stumbling on minor sins. Surely your Lord is infinite in forgiveness. He knew well what would become of you as He created you from the earth, and while you were still fetuses in the wombs of your mothers. So do not falsely elevate yourselves. He knows best who is truly righteous. فَلَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ هُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِمَنِ اتَّقَى. Sheikh Nuh says, so do not praise yourselves. He knows better who has God-fearingness. What does your translation say? I'm sure there'll be another. فَلَا تُزَكُّوا. Do not absolve yourselves.
Those who shine graves and say, was it truly Allah is vast. He knows you best from when He brought you forth from the earth, when you were herein. So deem not yourselves purified.
That's it.
He knows best the reverent.
Don't deem yourself purified. Don't try to purify yourselves, as in make a case for yourselves when you've been accused, you know.
Isn't there a case someone comes to Prophet and talks highly of a person, and then he says he seems like this? I recall an instant like that. So, yeah.
And that's why a lot of times when scholars speak about someone, they're about to praise him. Before they praise him, they say, "Wala uzaki alallahi ahada." I can't impose his purity based on Allah's knowledge, but from what I know of him is this. People can misunderstand this. فَلَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. They might say, "Oh, that means ilm tazkiyah is haram." Obviously, that's not the point. The one who returned to disbelief. Have you seen the one who turned away from Islam and initially paid a little for his salvation and then stopped? Does he have the knowledge of the unseen so that he sees the hereafter? Or has he not been informed of what is in the scripture of Moses? Suhuf Musa. Suhuf Ibrahim wa Musa. Here it's the word Suhuf is used. And that of Abraham, who perfectly fulfilled his covenant. 37. Who fulfilled all he was entrusted. They state that no soul burdened with sin will bear the burden of another, and that each person will only have what they have endeavored towards, and that the outcome of their endeavors will be seen in their record. Then they will be fully rewarded, and that to your Lord alone is the ultimate return of all things. Ibrahim a.s. was quoted earlier in the Quran to say, "Wallahu khalaqakum wa ma ta'amalun." Allah creates you and your actions. And people try to argue that Qadr is dominant, Jabbariya, the Jabariyah. They quote that verse. On the other side, people that try to argue that humans have full free power, they quote this verse.
I think 39, right? And that each person will only have what they endeavor towards,
Where is it? وَأَنْ لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا شَاءَ.
That's why I think the scholarship comes in, where you have to look at the Quran holistically and the Sunnah holistically.
And we have creedal texts that look at all the verses and then give the creedal position. Now, it is all in Allah's hands. Moreover, He is the one who brings about joy and sadness. The translations, it's not the way I've remembered these verses.
أضحك وأبكى, causes laughter and weeping.
Yeah, that's a bit more similar. And He is the one who gives life and causes death. And He created the pairs, male and females, from a sperm drop when it is emitted. And it is upon Him to bring about the recreation. And He is the one who enriches and impoverishes. And He alone is the Lord of the Sirius, the star. And He destroyed the first people of Ad and then Thamud, sparing no one. And before that He destroyed the people of Noah, who were truly far worse in wrongdoing and transgression. And it was He who turned the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah upside down. How overwhelming was what covered them. Doesn't mention Sodom and Gomorrah, obviously the verse, but now which of your Lord's flavors will you dispute? Warning to Arab pagans. The Prophet, I think you mentioned, or I think Sheikh Yusuf, it's perhaps not good to restrict it to the Arab pagans. It makes it a bit racial. It's a general warning to pagans. The Prophet is a warner like earlier ones. The approaching hour has drawn near. None but Allah can disclose it. Do you find this revelation astonishing, laughing at it and not weeping at it all, while persisting in heedlessness? Instead, prostrate to Allah and worship Him alone.
So there's one of our teachers, I won't mention his name, but every time I prayed behind him, every time he recites these verses, he cries. Every time in Salat.
Oh, I can guess who it is, and that's why I'm not mentioning his name.
Okay, inshallah.
What did the Prophet say about this? لو كنتم تعلمون ما أعلم لضحكتم قليلا ولبكيتم كثيرا. If you knew what I knew, he said, you would have laughed less and wept more.
I'll continue from inshallah. The moon, Al-Qamar. This Meccan surah, which takes its name from the splitting of the moon mentioned in verse 1, criticizes the disbelievers for rejecting warnings of the fast approaching hour. The pagans are warned of a dreadful fate similar to that of earlier disbelievers who were mentioned passing in the previous surah. The surah concludes by announcing that the righteous will be honored in the presence of the Almighty, which is the highlight of the next surah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Warning to the Meccan deniers. The hour has drawn near and the moon was split into two. Yet whenever they see a sign, they turn away, saying, same old magic. They rejected the truth and followed their own desires, and every matter will be settled, even though the stories of destroyed nations that have already come to them are a sufficient deterrent. This Quran is profound in wisdom, but warnings are of no benefit to them. So turn away from them, O Prophet, and wait for the day when the caller will summon them for something horrifying. With eyes downcast, they will come forth from the graves as if they were swarming locusts, rushing towards the caller. The disbelievers will cry, this is a difficult day.
I think this is the only surah that's got the ending with the Ra letter. It's got a very unique sound to it, this surah. We'll say it quickly, we won't dwell into it, but it's a controversial thing. The splitting of the moon. Here it says the moon has split. Sheikh Noor has translated as the hour has drawn near and the moon split. We have authentic hadiths from 5 different companions that talk about this. Abdullah bin Mas'ud himself, radhiyallahu anhu, bears eye testimony to the moon splitting. And now obviously there have been people who have doubted this or denied the splitting of the moon and have brought forth metaphorical interpretations. However, I don't think anyone from the Salaf ever thought the moon had not split from all the views that we have. No. And some people say, well, if it had split, then why didn't more people narrate to it and all that? Start saying, but even Imam Tahawi, they make arguments like, well, it happened in a very small part of the night. It was daytime in other places, clouds, not everyone would have seen it. Had the moon been split for a long time, let's say for 3 hours, then yes, more people would have reported it, but it would have not been connected to the Prophet. And it would not have been a miracle. And the whole purpose of a miracle, to show that he's a messenger, would have been obsolete, void. So you can come up with many rational reasons of why it didn't happen. There was this discussion, however, in India, a building existed that had it on that building saying this building was built in the year the moon was split. But I've got it here in my notes, but I have to check it.
There's hundreds of miracles that have been narrated to us. The process and water coming out of his hands, rocks speaking, trees giving him salam. Like, I guess if we believe in all these things, what's another miracle? And miracles are Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's suspension of the laws of universe, whom he governs anyway. So to me, it's just another one, to be honest.
I don't know why people get so stuck on miracles, but in our modern times, for the past 200 years, it's become a really big issue.
I guess as science has developed.
Science has developed, but why can't Muslim scholars, they get really stuck on this? We've had big scholars that fall into the trap of this. It's this inferiority complex that comes towards, these guys are European, they've been developed, maybe we're backward, maybe it's our belief in miracles. In the past, there were doubters as well on some of these things. Some people preferred metaphorical interpretations, but not at the level that it is in the last 200 years. So we had an event, and this Palestinian thing makes us realize a lot of things. All our education institutes were colonized. So even when it comes to viewing Quranic passages and our understanding of prophethood, we need to almost decolonize our understanding of prophethood. Because I think the issues people have had with miracles is a result of this inferiority complex that people have developed towards Europe and the scientific developments. Allahu Alam. I'm a bit of a literalist. And I get a bit annoyed with people who get too metaphorical when there's no need. If they say metaphorical as well as the literal meaning, no problem. But when they're denying the literal meaning,
Yeah, that it could happen.
and they're preferring the metaphorical meaning due to their own discomforts. Not all of them. Some of them, it's not because of that. They literally have an opinion. I must say that, but yeah.
The people of Noah, before them, the people of Noah denied the truth and rejected our servant, calling him insane, and he was intimidated. So he cried out to his Lord, I'm helpless, so help me. So we opened the gates of the sky with pouring rain and caused the earth to burst with springs, so the waters met for a fate already set. We carried him on that ark made of planks and nails, sailing under our watchful eyes, a fair punishment on behalf of the one they denied. We certainly left this as a sign. So is there anyone who will be mindful? Then how dreadful were my punishment and warnings. And we certainly made the Quran easy to remember. So is there anyone who will be mindful?
Verily, we made the Quran memorable with ease. Yeah, so is there anyone to take heed? If I'm not mistaken, this verse is repeated some 10 times in the surah. And obviously it's just before Surah Rahman where the verse is repeated some 30-something times.
The people of Hud also rejected the truth. Then how dreadful were my punishment and warnings. Indeed, we sent against them a furious wind on a day of unrelenting misery that snatched people up, leaving them like trunks of uprooted palm trees. Then how dreadful were my punishment and warnings, and we have certainly made the Quran easy to remember. So is there anyone who will be mindful? I guess I've read that. Thamud rejected the warnings as well, arguing, how can we follow one average human being from among us? We would then truly be misguided and insane. Has the revelation been sent down only to him out of all of us? In fact, he is a boastful liar. He was revealed to Salih. They will soon know who the boastful liar is. We are sending the she-camel as a test for them. So watch them closely and have patience. And tell them that the drinking water must be divided between them and her, each taking a turn to drink every other day. But they roused a companion of theirs, so he dared to kill her. Then how dreadful were my punishment and warnings. Indeed, we sent against them only one mighty blast, leaving them like the twigs of fence builders. And we have certainly made the Quran easier to remember. So is there anyone who will be mindful? The people of Lot. The people of Lot also rejected the warnings. We unleashed upon them a storm of stones. As for the believers of Lot's family, we delivered them before dawn as a blessing from us. This is how we reward whoever gives thanks.
This is the only place where it mentions his family being saved. But usually when it says that, it says except his wife. كانت من الغابرين. But this place, it hasn't mentioned it, perhaps because it's been mentioned elsewhere. Allah.
He had already warned them of our crushing blow, but they disputed the warnings, and they even demanded his angel guests from him. So we blinded their eyes, and they were told, taste them my punishment and warnings. And indeed, by the early morning, they were overwhelmed by an unrelenting torment. Again, they were told, taste now my punishment and warnings. And we have certainly made the Quran easier to remember. So is there anyone who will be mindful? Did I just read that? No, so it's repeating the same.
It's about 10 times.
Okay.
41.
Yeah, so the whole thing gets repeated. No? The people of Pharaoh, and indeed the warnings.
I haven't seen it, but I wouldn't be surprised if some tafsirs, like Rikhai's tafsirs, might give a slightly different meaning to each of the repetition. The wordings are the same, but because they've come between different stories, it can take different cues.
Interesting. And indeed, the warnings also came to the people of Pharaoh, but they rejected all of our signs, so we seized them with the crushing grip of the Almighty, most powerful. Now you are making disbelievers superior to those destroyed peoples, or have you been granted immunity from punishment in divine books? Or did I say we are all a united front bound to prevail? Soon the united front will be defeated and forced to flee. Better yet, the hour is the appointed time, and the hour will be most catastrophic and most bitter. Indeed, the wicked are entrenched in misguidance and are bound for blazes. On the day they will be dragged into the fire, on their faces they will be told, taste the touch of hell. Indeed, we have created everything perfectly preordained. Our command is but a single word done in the blink of an eye. We have already destroyed the likes of you, so will any of you be mindful? Everything they have done is listed in their records. Every matter, small and large, is written precisely. Indeed, the righteous will be amid gardens and rivers at the seat of honor in the presence of the most powerful sovereign. So I think we should move on to Surah Rahman as well, because we're about 10 pages out at the moment.
Oh,
Yeah. Maybe should we read a few more pages?
no, do
Yeah.
you want me to read?
I'm happy to continue, inshallah. Surah Rahman. This Meccan surah is a call to humans and jinn to acknowledge Allah's infinite blessings, hence the recurring question, then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? Which is repeated 31 times. Life on earth will come to an end, ushering in the day of judgment, where people will be classified into the three groups based on their deeds and consequent rewards: the disbelievers, the best of the believers, and the average believers. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The most compassionate taught the Quran, created humanity, and taught them speech. The sun and the moon travel with precision. The stars and the trees bow down in submission. As for the sky, He raised it high and set the balance of justice so that you do not defraud the scales. Weigh with justice and do not give short measure. Last one has put justice, balance in the world, and He's expecting His creation to also follow the same principle, right?
Like 4 or 5 times the words used in about 2-3 verses. The
Mizan.
Mizan.
Yeah. He laid out the earth for all beings. In it are fruit, palm trees with date stalks, and grain with husks, and aromatic plants. Then which of your Lord's favors will you humans and jinn both deny?
Humans and jinn is the popular opinion, but there is a view that Razi had put forward, Fakhruddin Razi, that it could mean men and women.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have.
Al-Qasim said to the companions, when I read this to the jinn, I could hear him crying. Why don't I hear you crying?
He created humankind from sounding clay like pottery, and created jinn from a smokeless flame of fire. And which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? This explicitly mentions the jinn here. So,
What do you mean?
like, you know, the popular opinion is that humans and jinn, and here it's explicitly he created jinn from a smokeless flame of fire. And which of talks about the human being and the jinn in the same,
okay. And
same
then so
verse.
it's coming after that. So
Perhaps, but yeah.
So it's clear what your preference is.
Well, that's what I've read before too. So yeah. He is the Lord of the two easts and the two wests. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? He merges the two bodies of fresh and salt water, yet between them is a barrier they never cross. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? Out of both waters come forth pearls and coral. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? To Him belong the ships with raised sails, sailing through the seas like mountains. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny?
So here, Rabbul Mashariq, here it says the two east and the two west. Some have said, the longest day and the shortest day. That makes it that you can, the sunrise points slightly vary. But another verse says Rabbul Mashariq.
It rises from two extremes and it sets in two extremes. Like so. Yeah, that's what the text is referring to. Every being on earth is bound to perish. Only your Lord Himself, full of majesty and honor, will remain forever. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? All those in the heavens and the earth are dependent on Him. Day in and day out, He has something to bring about. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny?
Every instant He's affecting something immeasurably great. Sheikh Nur says, Kulla yawmin huwa fi shan.
Yeah, this in itself is a good discussion, just that verse, right? We will soon attend to you for judgment, O two multitudes of jinn and humans. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny?
Here also explicitly mentioned.
But it is in brackets, so that's right? Or two multitudes of jinn and humans.
No. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It's in brackets, yeah.
No.
Is it there?
Yeah.
Ya ayyuha thaqalan, right? Isn't that the verse?
No, first it says, Ya ma'shar al-jinni wal-insi istata'tum. Oh, no, that's the next verse. Sorry, you're right.
Okay, yeah.
Ayyuha thaqalan. No.
Yeah. then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? O assembly of jinn and humans.
محمد سيد الكونين والثقلين من فريقين عرب والعجم عجمي. Busiri. He's the leader of the Thaqalain.
And so it is explicitly mentioned here. O assembly of jinn and humans, if you can penetrate beyond the realms of the heavens and the earth, then do so. But you cannot do that without our authority. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? Flames of fire and molten copper will be sent against you, and you will not be able to defend one another. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? How horrible will it be when the heavens will split apart, becoming rose red like burnt oil? Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? On that day there will be no need for any human or jinn to be asked about their sins. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? The wicked will be recognized by their appearance, then will be seized by their forelocks and feet. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? They will be told, this is the hell which the wicked denied. They will alternate between its flames and scalding water. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny?
People might ask, how come hell is being given as a blessing to be denied? But the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so vividly depicting the day of judgment, doomsday, and now hell, to the point that when you actually see it, you'll be like, I've seen this before, due to the Quran descriptions so accurately, vividly, and it's a warning for us. That's a great blessing. So you've been very vividly warned. So that could be one way of why even verses describing hellfire, it says فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ.
And whoever is in awe of standing before their Lord will have two gardens. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? Both will be with lush branches. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? In each garden will be the two flowing springs. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? In each will be two types of every fruit. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? Those believers will recline on furnishings lined with rich brocade, and the fruit of both gardens will hang within reach. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? In both gardens will be maidens of modest gaze, who no human or jinn has ever touched before. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? Those maidens will be as elegant as rubies and coral. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny?
Just one second, sorry.
Yeah.
وَلِمَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ جَنَّتَانِ. So those who fear Allah will have two gardens, and there's been discussion of what those two gardens are. Then it beautifully depicts this paradise. And then verse 60, هَلْ جَزَاء. No.
Is there any reward for goodness except goodness? Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny?
So up to now is the reward for their fear being of Lord, of fearing Allah. But to reward something because of something, it's almost like it's a balance. Then on top of that, there's extra ihsan. Extra ihsan is only the reward for the extra ihsan. And then the next verse says, and besides two, there's another two gardens. Allahu Alam.
And below these two gardens will be two others. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? Both will be dark green. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? In each will be two gushing springs. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? In both will be fruit, palm trees, and pomegranates. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? In all gardens will be noble, pleasant mates. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? There will be maidens with gorgeous eyes reserved in pavilions. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? No human or jinn has ever touched these maidens before. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? All believers will be reclining on green cushions and splendid carpets. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? Blessed is the name of your Lord, full of majesty and honor.
Yeah. Some might say the Quran is so miraculous, the way it miraculously describes the universe. But the way it so beautifully captures the hereafter. Only someone who has full vision of the hereafter, behind the parda and in front of the parda, in front of the veil, can describe both sides so well and vividly. Allahumma khilna al-firdaus al-a'la.
Ameen, inshallah.
So,
see you tomorrow, everyone, inshallah. We stopped
thank you
at
for the
Surah
itikaf
Waqi'ah.
brothers that have been patiently waiting.